You never had the privilege of ease. From the moment you opened your eyes to this world, it was already carving its lessons into your skin. Life didn't wait for you to be ready. It didn't offer a gentle introduction, a slow unraveling of what was to come. No, it threw you straight into the fire, into the chaos, into the weight of things you didn't yet understand. The first betrayal came before you even knew what trust was, a hand you reached for, only to find it slipping away. A promise that dissolved into a lie, the sting of realizing that words mean nothing when they come from lips that never intended to keep them. That was the first crack in the foundation, small but deep enough to be felt. And then came the first loss, the first time you understood that some things don't return, that sometimes what is taken forever. You held on to what little you had, only to watch it slip through your fingers like sand, and there you were, standing in the wreckage of what was supposed to be your safe place, wondering if you were ever meant to have one at all. They saw you stagger, they saw you stumble, they watched the way life knocked the wind out of you, how you clenched your fists in frustration, how your voice shook with a scream that never quite made it past your lips. To them, it was weakness. To them, it was proof that you were small, insignificant, breakable. But what they didn't see, what they never could have predicted, was what was forming beneath the surface. They didn't see how every wound was etching something deeper into your bone. They didn't see how the fire wasn't just burning you, it was forging you. They mistook your silence for surrender. They mistook your struggle for defeat. They didn't know that you were learning. Every moment of pain was a lesson. Every disappointment was a new layer of armor. And while they were busy laughing, doubting, waiting for you to fall and stay down, something unshakable was being built inside you. Something relentless. Something that would one day rise from the ashes and make them regret ever thinking you were weak. Because what they didn't know was that you weren't breaking, you were becoming. They tell you to heal. They tell you to find closure, to put the past behind you, to stitch yourself back together like you were never torn apart in the first place. They tell you to move on, to seek peace, to find wholeness. But they never tell you the truth that wholeness is an illusion, a fantasy sold to those who are too afraid to embrace what they have become. They say healing means returning to who you were before the pain. But who you were before was naive. Who you were before didn't know what you know now. They want you to soften, to fold back into the mold of someone who fits their expectations, someone easier to control. They don't want you to see what's real, that once you've been shattered, you don't go back. You build something stronger from the wreckage. They fear those who have nothing left to break, the ones who have walked through fire and didn't come out asking for sympathy, the ones who no longer flinch when life swings at them, because they've already been hit harder than most could survive. They don't want you to realize that the cracks in you don't make you weaker. They make you more dangerous, more resilient, more unshakable. They don't want you to know that a person who has embraced their own brokenness is unstoppable. The strongest steel isn't untouched. It isn't perfect. It doesn't stay whole in the face of the fire. It endures, it bends, it is reforged. It goes through the heat over and over until it is unbreakable. And that is what you are becoming. You were never meant to remain in one piece, fragile and pristine, waiting for the world to handle you gently. That was never your destiny. You were meant to be tested, to be pushed, to be broken down so that you could come back as something stronger than they ever imagined. You don't need to be whole. You don't need to erase the scars, to pretend the pain never touched you. You don't need to go back to who you were before. You need to embrace who you are now, the version of yourself that survived, that endured, that walked through the wreckage and refused to stay buried beneath it. You don't need to be whole, you need to be unbreakable. They thought you wouldn't make it. They looked at you and saw someone fragile, someone who would fold under the weight of the world. They never imagined you would last this long. They never thought you had it in you. They laughed when you fell, whispered behind your back when you struggled to stand again. Some of them even enjoyed it, watching you stumble, watching you claw your way through the darkness, thinking that at any moment you would give up. They were so sure that you would break completely. They were waiting for it, counting on it, but they forgot something. They forgot that you were already born from brokenness. You didn't come from ease. You didn't come from privilege, from a life wrapped in softness and security. No one handed you anything. No one shielded you from the storm. You grew up learning how to take the hit and keep moving. You were raised in the fire. You adapted to the chaos. While they were being protected, you were being prepared. They don't understand people like you. They don't understand how someone can survive after everything you've been through. They don't understand how someone can be knocked down again and again, only to rise stronger each time. They don't understand because they have never lived in the kind of war you have fought through. They thought you would disappear, fade into nothing, become a ghost of your former self, lost in the struggle, swallowed by the pain. But you didn't. You refused. You defied everything they expected, and now they don't know what to do with you. They see you standing, and it terrifies them, because now they realize they never had power over you. The world never broke you. The pain didn't destroy you. You were never fragile. You were never weak. You were never someone who could be erased. And now they will have to live with the fact that they doubted you, that they underestimated the wrong person. Let them watch. Let them regret. Let them understand that you are not just a survivor. You are proof that nothing, no one, and no force on this earth can break what was already born from brokenness. Pain was never your enemy, it was your teacher. It was the first thing that shaped you, molded you, stripped away the illusions you once held about this world. While others ran from it, avoided it, numbed themselves to it, you had no choice but to face it head on. Pain forced you to wake up. It burned away the softness, the hesitation, the excuses. It sharpened your mind, strengthened your body, and hardened your soul. People who live in comfort will never understand this. They live in a world that tells them to avoid struggle at all costs, a world that whispers, stay safe, stay comfortable, don't push too hard. But comfort is a lie. It's a slow poison that weakens the spirit. It convinces you that you don't need to fight, that you don't need to grow, that it's okay to stay exactly where you are. But you never had that option. You didn't have the luxury of a sheltered life. You were thrown into the deep end before you even knew how to swim. You learned through suffering. Every scar tells a story of resilience. Every sleepless night built endurance. Every moment of struggle rewired your mind, taught you lessons that no book, no mentor, no words could ever teach. Pain wasn't just an experience, it was an education. It taught you what you were made of. It showed you the depths of your strength, the extent of your willpower. It taught you that you could endure more than you ever thought possible. Pain was never meant to break you, it was meant to forge you. Like fire refined steel, suffering stripped away the weaknesses, the self-doubt, the false beliefs that held you back. It forced you to adapt, to think smarter, to move faster. It gave you an edge that those who have never suffered will never understand. Look back at everything you have been through, every loss, every betrayal, every time life knocked you to your knees. And now look at yourself. You are still here, you are still standing. And that is proof that pain did not destroy you, it transformed you. The ones who fear pain will always be fragile. The ones who run from it will always remain weak. But you don't fear suffering. You don't run from the struggle, because you know something they don't. Pain was never here to hurt you. It was here to build you into something unstoppable. They took everything from you, stripped you down to nothing, left you in the cold with no shelter, no mercy, no way forward. They thought if they took enough, you would break. They thought if they pushed you far enough, you would surrender. They thought if they left you empty, you would stay that way. But they were wrong. Because in that emptiness, you discovered something they never saw coming, something they never imagined could exist inside you, your will, the part of you they could never touch, the part of you that refused to be erased, the part of you that rose from the ruins when everything else was taken. You didn't have a choice, no silver spoon, no safety net, no easy way out. So if you had to crawl, you crawled. If you had to drag yourself forward on nothing but raw willpower, you did it. If you had to bleed, you bled. But you never stopped moving. While others gave up, while others complained about how unfair life was, you were too busy surviving. Too busy clawing your way through the dirt. Too busy proving that no matter how hard they tried, they would never break you. And there was a moment, a turning point, when they realized it, when they saw you still standing, still breathing, still fighting. And that's when the fear hit them, because they finally understood that you were not like them. They would have given up. They would have stayed down. They would have let life defeat them. But you kept going. Every time they knocked you down, you learned something new. You learned how to move differently, how to fight harder, how to push through when there was nothing left. You became a survivor in a world that was built to destroy you. They thought they were burying you, but what they didn't know was that you were planting yourself in the darkness, growing, strengthening, preparing for the day you would rise. They never expected you to make it this far. They never imagined that the same fire they tried to burn you with would be the fire that made you unstoppable. They took everything, but they couldn't take you. And now, every step forward, every victory, every moment of power you claim, it's a reminder that they failed, because you never stopped, and you never will. The world owes you nothing. It was never designed for fairness. It was never built to be kind. If you're still waiting for someone to come along and lift you out of your struggles, you'll be waiting forever. The truth is cold, but it's real. The weak get consumed and the strong rise. That's how it has always been. That's how it will always be. You've seen it firsthand. The ones who hesitate, who cry out for help that never comes, who hope the world will change for them, they disappear, swallowed by the tides of life, forgotten by a world that doesn't slow down for anyone. You learned early that hoping and wishing don't change a damn thing. The only thing that changes your life is action. Ruthless, relentless action. No one is coming to save you. No hero, no miracle, no sudden twist of fate. If you want out of the darkness, you have to claw your way out yourself. If you want to rise, you have to do it with your own hands, with your own mind, with the fire in your own chest. They conditioned you to believe you needed saving, that someone, somewhere would see your suffering and step in, that if you just waited long enough, help would arrive. But now you know the truth. Help isn't coming. The world doesn't stop for your pain. It doesn't care how much you've suffered. The only thing it respects is strength. The only thing it bows to is power. And power is something you build, not something given, not something inherited, something earned, through blood, through struggle, through the refusal to stay weak. You don't beg for a better life. You don't wait for someone to hand it to you. You take it. You fight for it. You become so strong that no one dares to deny you. This world wasn't built for the soft. It wasn't made for those who wait, for those who complain, for those who expect life to be fair. It was built for those who refuse to be defeated, those who take what they deserve, those who understand that the only savior they will ever have is themselves. So stop waiting, stop hoping, rise, take what's yours, and never look back. There was a day, one you remember too well, when everything changed. It wasn't a dramatic moment, not the kind that makes for a cinematic scene with slow motion realization and triumphant music in the background. No, it was something quieter, something deeper. It was the moment you stopped begging, the moment you stopped hoping, the moment something inside you snapped so violently that you would never be the same again. Up until that day, you had been holding on to the belief that if you just endured a little longer, if you proved yourself enough, if you showed them your worth, they would see it. They would acknowledge it. They would finally give you the space, the respect, the chance you had been fighting for. But that day, that was the day you realized the truth. No one was coming. No one was going to step in and make things right. No one was going to look at you and suddenly recognize your value. No one was going to give you the permission, the validation, the opportunity you had been waiting for. That day, you saw the world for what it was. Not cruel, not unfair, just indifferent. It didn't care if you made it. It didn't care if you suffered. And that was when you made the choice. You stopped waiting, you stopped hoping, and instead you started taking. That was the moment you became a force they could no longer ignore. You walked differently after that day, spoke differently, moved differently, because you no longer asked for permission. You no longer wasted energy on proving your worth to those too blind to see it. You became the kind of person who no longer needed approval, because power doesn't ask, power takes. They noticed the change. Oh, they noticed. The ones who used to overlook you, the ones who used to doubt you, the ones who thought you would always be beneath them, they started watching. They felt the shift, the quiet storm building inside you, the undeniable energy of someone who had nothing left to lose and everything left to prove. This wasn't just confidence. This wasn't just determination. This was something else, something dangerous, something untouchable. Because when you stop begging for mercy, when you stop hoping for fairness, you become something the world fears, someone who cannot be controlled. And from that moment on, you knew you would never be ignored again. They thought they had finished you, that after everything they took, after every wound they inflicted, after every loss you endured, you would never rise again. They thought they left you in pieces, scattered, weak, defeated. But they didn't understand something about people like you. Broken things, when put back together, don't return as they were. They return sharper, stronger, more dangerous. You didn't just survive the storm. You became something else because of it. The version of you they tried to destroy no longer exists. The softness, the hesitation, the need for validation, it all burned away in the fire they thought would consume you. But it didn't. It refined you. It turned you into something unshakable, something relentless, something they can no longer touch. They expected you to stay down, but they underestimated the power of transformation. The way pain reshapes the mind, the way suffering carves out something new, something raw, something powerful inside of you. They expected the ruins of who you used to be, but what they got was something else entirely, a force beyond their comprehension. You walk differently now, not with the burden of what you've lost, but with the certainty of what you've become. The old version of you sought acceptance. The new version, you don't need it. The old version wanted fairness. The new version, you take what's yours, because fairness was never part of the equation. The old version feared rejection, failure, loss. The new version understands that destruction is only the beginning of something greater. And now they fear you because they see what they created and they don't know how to stop it. They see that they were wrong, that they didn't bear you, they planted you. And now you are rising from the ruins of your past, no longer a victim, no longer seeking redemption, just claiming everything they once said you could never have. They thought they left you broken, but broken things, when reforged, become unbreakable. And now you are unstoppable. There is something different about you now. It's in the way you move, the way you speak, the way your presence shifts the air when you enter a room. The hesitation is gone. The doubt has vanished. You walk differently now. Not because you have something to prove, but because you have nothing left to fear. You used to explain yourself, used to justify your existence, used to soften your edges to make others comfortable. But that version of you is dead. You no longer beg for acceptance. You no longer explain your choices. You no longer apologize for taking up space, because now you understand your power. This world respects one thing: strength, and you have become something most people will never dare to be. Fearless, ruthless, unstoppable. Fearless because you have already lost. You have already been through hell, already been broken, already faced the kind of darkness that most people run from. What can they possibly do to you now? What threat can shake someone who has already survived their worst days? Nothing. They cannot control someone who has nothing to lose and everything to gain. Worthless. Because you are done playing small. You are done waiting for permission, done caring about how others perceive you. If they fear your ambition, that's their problem. If they don't like your confidence, that's their weakness. You don't hesitate anymore. You don't second guess. You move with precision, with purpose, with the kind of certainty that makes weak people uncomfortable. But that is not your concern. You are not here to be liked. You are here to win. Unstoppable. Because once you understood your worth, nothing could slow you down. The things that used to hold you back, doubt, rejection, the opinions of people who never mattered, they no longer have any power over you. You do not ask for respect, you demand it. You do not seek approval, you own your presence. You do not shrink yourself for the comfort of others. You take what is yours without apology. People feel it when they are around you now. They recognize the shift. The ones who once doubted you are silent. The ones who once laughed now watch from a distance, unsure, uneasy, because they can't recognize you anymore. They see someone who refuses to bow, refuses to be ignored, refuses to be anything less than exactly who they were meant to be. You have become something dangerous, not because you seek destruction, but because you can no longer be destroyed. Fearless, ruthless, unstoppable. And now, the world has no choice but to take notice. They spent years trying to shape you. They dangled approval in front of you like a prize, made you believe that your worth depended on their acceptance. They conditioned you to seek validation, to measure your value by their opinions, to crave their approval like oxygen. And for a long time, you played their game. You tried to be enough. You tried to fit their expectations. You adjusted yourself, twisted yourself, shrank yourself just to be acknowledged. But not anymore. One day you woke up and realized something. Their validation was never real power. It was a leash. A chain disguised as a reward, a way to keep you controlled, keep you waiting, keep you desperate for their approval. The moment you saw the game for what it was, everything changed. Now their words don't touch you. Their opinions mean nothing. The insults, the judgment, the whispers, they roll off you like dust in the wind. They no longer have access to your mind, to your emotions, to your sense of self, because you have become immune to their games. They don't know what to do with you now. They try the same tricks, expecting you to react, expecting you to flinch, expecting you to seek their approval just like before. But you don't. You stand there, unaffected, unmoved, uninterested in their validation, and that terrifies them, because people like them thrive on control, and you have become uncontrollable. You no longer adjust yourself for their comfort. You no longer explain yourself to make them understand. You no longer water yourself down so they will accept you. If they can't handle who you've become, that's their problem, not yours. When you no longer need their validation, you become free. Free from their expectations, free from their opinions, free from the invisible chains they once wrapped around you. And freedom, that's the one thing they never wanted you to have. Because a person who doesn't need approval, a person who moves through life on their own terms, a person who refuses to be controlled, that is the most powerful kind of person in the world. They can't touch you anymore. They can't manipulate you anymore. They can't break you anymore. Because you have stepped into a level of power they will never understand. You remember them. The ones who walked away when you needed them the most. The ones who left you in the dark, convinced you wouldn't make it without them. The ones who doubted you, who laughed at your struggle, who whispered behind your back, certain you would never rise. They thought you would stay lost. They thought you would fade into nothing, another forgotten soul swallowed by hardship. They believed you would never escape, never rebuild, never become something greater. But now, they see you standing, and their fear is real. It's in the way their eyes shift when they see you now, the way their voices falter, the way their confidence shrinks, because they never expected this. They never imagined that the person they once pitied, the person they once ignored, the person they once thought was beneath them, would become someone they now have to respect. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove them wrong with words, with arguments, with confrontation. Your success is revenge enough. They have to live with the truth that they were wrong about you, that they underestimated you, that they walked away from someone who would go on to surpass them in every way, and now they have to watch. You don't carry bitterness. You don't hold grudges, because you don't need to. You have risen so far beyond their reach that their absence no longer matters. You do not seek their validation. You do not need their apology. They are merely a footnote in your story, a lesson, a turning point, a reminder of who you once were and who you refuse to be again. They thought they had power over you. They thought leaving you behind would break you. But what they never understood was that they were never your foundation. You never needed them to survive. And now, you stand in front of them as living proof that the ones who left were never the ones who mattered. So let them watch, let them regret, let them sit in the silence of their own doubt. Because the greatest revenge is not destruction. It's success. It's peace. It's knowing that you have become everything they said you never would, and now they have no choice but to respect you. To the ones coming up from the dirt, to the ones who know what it feels like to be overlooked, counted out, underestimated, this is for you. You are walking a path that will test you, that will break you down before it builds you up. You will know struggle before you know strength. You will know loss before you know victory. You will know what it means to be doubted before you ever get the chance to prove yourself. And they will laugh at you. They will mock your ambition. They will look at where you come from, at what you lack, and convince themselves that you will never rise. They will make you question yourself, make you feel small, make you wonder if you are even capable of more. Let them laugh, let them doubt, let them talk behind your back, let them believe you will never make it, because their doubt is fuel. Every word, every smirk, every eye roll is a gift. They are writing a story they don't even realize they are part of, the story where they are the ones who have to eat their own words. You are not here to convince them. You are not here to explain yourself, to seek approval, to beg for a chance. Your job is not to make them believe in you. Your job is to become so undeniable that they have no choice but to respect you. And when your time comes, because it will come, let them regret every second they underestimated you. Let them sit in the silence of their own disbelief as they realize that the person they dismissed, the person they ignored, the person they never saw as a threat, has surpassed them in every way. You are the next wave, the next force, the next storm they didn't see coming. You don't need their validation. You don't need their acceptance. You don't even need their recognition. You only need one thing: the patience to let time prove everything they thought about you was wrong. So keep moving, keep building, keep rising. And when the day comes that they finally see you for who you are, let them regret ever doubting you. The old you, gone, the one who hesitated, who second-guessed, who shrank themselves to fit into places that were never meant for them, that person no longer exists. That version of you died the day you realized the truth. Weakness is a liability, and you will never be weak again. The part of you that wanted to be liked? Dead. You used to care. You used to soften your edges to make others comfortable. You used to worry about being too much, about standing out, about making waves. But now you understand something most people never will. Being liked is irrelevant. Being respected is everything. And respect doesn't come from pleasing people. It comes from owning who you are with no apology. From now on, you move differently. You think differently. You walk through the world with the mindset of someone who has been through hell and came out untouchable. You are not fragile. You are not looking for permission. You do not care about fitting in, about making people feel at ease, about following the rules they set for you. You set your own rules now. Weakness was the old you, the one who tolerated disrespect, the one who stayed silent when they should have spoken, the one who let others dictate their worth. But that version of you no longer exists, because you have faced too much, lost too much, endured too much to ever let yourself be weak again. Now, when you step into a room, people feel it. They sense the shift, the energy, the certainty in your presence. You do not beg. You do not explain. You do not justify your existence. You are here, and that alone is enough. They won't understand it at first. They'll wonder what changed. They'll wonder why their words no longer cut you, why their opinions no longer sway you, why their judgment no longer affects you. But the answer is simple. You are done playing small. You are done with weakness. You are done with anything that does not serve your growth. From this moment forward, you move like someone who cannot be broken again. Because once you've rebuilt yourself from the ruins, once you've stood face to face with everything that tried to destroy you and survived, nothing and no one will ever have power over you again. The world thrives on control. It functions on invisible chains. Approval, validation, fear of rejection. Society is built on the idea that people will fall in line, that they will seek acceptance, that they will fear stepping too far outside the lines drawn for them. And for most, it works. Most people spend their entire lives chasing approval, afraid to disrupt the system, afraid to be seen as too different, too bold, too unpredictable. But then, there are people like you, people who can't be controlled, people who don't seek validation, people who have walked through fire and come out smiling. And that terrifies them. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't play by their rules, someone who doesn't shrink, who doesn't wait for permission, who doesn't need approval to move forward. The world is not built for people who refuse to be controlled, and yet, here you are. They fear you because they can't manipulate you. They can't use the same tactics on you that work on the weak. They can't make you doubt yourself, can't make you question your worth, can't lure you into the same traps that keep others in place. You see through the illusions, you recognize the game, and you refuse to play. They fear you because you have nothing to lose. The moment you let go of the need to be liked, the moment you embraced your own power without waiting for permission, that was the moment you became dangerous. A person who is no longer afraid of rejection, no longer controlled by the opinions of others, no longer seeking approval, that is a person who cannot be stopped. And that's exactly who you've become. They talk about you, they watch you, they try to figure out what gives you this unshakable energy, this untouchable confidence. They look for weaknesses, hoping to find a crack, a moment of hesitation, a place to attack, but they find nothing, because you have already survived everything that was meant to break you. They fear you, because you have proven that you do not need them. And nothing terrifies the world more than a person who moves with absolute certainty, a person who cannot be swayed, cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken. Let them fear you, let them whisper, let them wonder how you became this version of yourself. Because the truth is simple. You walked through fire, and instead of burning, you became the fire itself. The final truth is this: you were never the victim. You were never just someone struggling to survive. You were never weak, never fragile, never at the mercy of the world. They tried to convince you otherwise. They tried to make you believe that life was happening to you, that you were powerless against the storm, but now you see it clearly. You were never caught in the storm. They thought you were just another soul lost in the dark, clawing for a way out, desperate for light. But you weren't looking for rescue. You weren't waiting for salvation. You were becoming something else, something greater, something untouchable. You didn't just survive the darkness. You became it. The struggles didn't weaken you, they reforged you. The betrayals didn't destroy you, they sharpened you. The pain didn't break you, it transformed you into something they will never be able to define, never be able to contain, never be able to control. They spent their lives fearing the storm, trying to avoid it, running from the chaos, seeking shelter from the unknown. But you walked into it without hesitation. You faced it head on, let it tear through you, let it shape you into something unstoppable. And now you don't fear the storm because you are the storm. And that is the truth they will never understand. They thought they could break you, thought they could silence you, erase you, make you disappear. But how do you break what was already born from brokenness? How do you shatter something that was built from the ruins? How do you destroy someone who has already faced their worst and survived? You don't. They will come to realize this in time. They will see that they never had power over you, that every attempt to stop you, every effort to diminish you, every time they tried to keep you in place, it only made you more dangerous. And now they will have to live with the truth that you are no longer fighting the storm. You are the storm, and nothing will ever stand in your way again. You will never be the same again. The version of you that once waited, once hesitated, once believed that life had to be fair in order to succeed, that person is gone. That person was left behind in the wreckage, buried beneath the weight of everything they took from you. But you survived. And now you are building something unstoppable from the ruins they thought would be your grave. If they took everything from you, build a kingdom from the wreckage. Let them see that their attempts to break you only created something stronger. They thought they could strip you down, leave you empty, take away every resource, every advantage, every opportunity. But they didn't realize that you never needed their approval, their acceptance, their permission. You were always capable of building something out of nothing. Now, every step you take, every move you make, every victory you claim is proof that their efforts failed. If they doubted you, make them regret it. Not with words, not with arguments, not with desperate attempts to prove them wrong. Make them regret it by becoming everything they said you never could be. Make them feel the weight of their own doubt as they watch you rise, as they see your strength unfold in ways they never saw coming. Make them wish they had supported you. Make them wish they had believed in you. Make them watch as you leave them behind. If they underestimated you, make them watch as you rise. Let them stand there speechless as you surpass every limit they placed on you. Let them feel the silence of their own misjudgment as you break through barriers they never thought you would cross. You are not just surviving, you are thriving. You are proving, not just to them, but to yourself, that you were never meant to stay small. They will try to understand how you did it, how you rose from the depths, how you rebuilt after losing everything, but they will never fully grasp it because they have never endured what you have endured. They have never faced what you have faced. They will never know what it means to lose it all and come back stronger. You will never be the same again. And that is your greatest weapon. Because the old version of you, the one they doubted, the one they dismissed, the one who needed to be liked, that version is gone. The person you are now, unstoppable, relentless, a force that will never be ignored again. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them regret, because you will never be the same again. And now there is nothing left to fear. To those who are still struggling, to those who feel like they are at their breaking point, drowning in doubt, surrounded by darkness, this is for you. You are not weak. You are not finished. I know it feels like you are. I know the weight of everything pressing down on you, the voices telling you that you'll never make it, the exhaustion of trying to keep moving when nothing seems to change. But hear me now, if you are still breathing, you are still in the fight. And as long as you are still in the fight, you have not lost. This world was never meant to be fair. It was never built for people like you to succeed easily. It was not designed to hand you opportunities, to open doors for you, to make things simple. But neither were you. You were not made to fold under pressure. You were not meant to break when things got hard. You were built to endure, to push through, to rise despite every reason not to. I know what it's like to feel invisible, to feel like no matter how hard you try, nothing changes. I know what it's like to watch others get what they never had to fight for, while you struggle just to keep going. I know what it's like to wonder if it will ever be your turn. It will, but only if you refuse to quit. This world is brutal. It does not care about fairness. It does not care about who deserves better, who has suffered enough, who should have been given a chance. The world does not care, but you do. And that's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you powerful. Because despite everything, despite all the reasons you could have given up, you are still here. You are still breathing. You are still fighting. And that means you are not done yet. One day you will look back at this moment, the moment you wanted to quit, the moment you thought you had nothing left, and you will realize that this was the turning point. This was the moment that defined you. The moment when you decided that nothing, no one, no failure, no setback, no struggle would stop you from becoming who you were meant to be. So if you are still struggling, remember this: your story is not over. The world was never meant to be fair, but neither were you. You were meant to conquer it.